I was in the ICU recovering from surgery when my son's wife called and said, "We're not bringing the kids to see you. Hospitals are traumatizing." My son added, "They'll remember you how you were." I held the phone in silence, hooked to machines. A nurse wiped my tears. 6 months later, they called from the ER, but the name on the emergency contact form now said, "My name is Joan Whitaker. I'm 64 years old. I've lived in Decatur, Georgia most of my life. I worked at Southwest DeKalb High School as the main office secretary for over 30 years. People always said I was the calm one in chaos. I was the lady who kept things running when the principal forgot meetings or when kids showed up crying because they lost their backpacks. I liked being useful. I raised my only son, Aaron, by myself. His father walked out when Aaron was 7 years old. I remember the night like it just happened. We were sitting on the couch watching Wheel of Fortune. My husband stood up during a commercial break and said, "I'm done pretending this is what I want." Then he left. I don't even remember what I said back. Just the sound of Aaron quietly crying in the hallway. After that, it was just me and Aaron. I never got remarried. I dated a few times, but it never worked out. Aaron was my focus. I gave him my time, my energy, my health. I took on extra duties at work to afford his braces, his sports camps, his class trips. When he got older and went to college, on partial scholarship, I helped with books and rent. I remember skipping my own doctor appointments so I could make sure his tuition got paid. I don't regret it. Not then, anyway. After he graduated, he met Jenna. She was quiet and polite at first. Always smiled, always said thank you. She worked in some kind of tech job. I tried to stay out of their business, but something about her felt cold. She wasn't mean, just distant. I chalked it up to personality differences. Aaron seemed happy, so I smiled through it. They got married. Had 2 kids. A boy named Nolan and a girl named Harper. Being a grandma was the best part of my retirement. I spoiled them. I made them quilts, bought them books, baked every Sunday. I never missed a birthday. When Jenna went back to work, I was the one who watched the kids after school. No one ever had to ask, I just showed up. That was life. Or so I thought. Last year, I started having stomach problems. Bloating, pain, nausea. I ignored it at first. Thought it was stress or bad food. When I finally went in for scans, they found something concerning. It wasn't cancer, thank God, but they needed to operate. The surgeon said it was best to get it out right away. The procedure would be tough. I'd be in the hospital at least a week, maybe longer. I told Aaron. He said, "Let me know the details. We'll figure something out." Jenna didn't say anything. The day of the surgery came. I was wheeled into the OR at 6:45 a.m. I don't remember anything until I woke up in the ICU. My throat hurt. My stomach felt like it had been ripped open, which it kind of had. I had tubes in my arms and machines beeping on both sides. A nurse said I was lucky, no complications. I nodded, drifted back to sleep. The next few days were hard. I couldn't eat. I couldn't move without pain. I had to use a bedpan like a toddler. I felt like I had no dignity left. Still, I kept my phone close, thinking Aaron might call. Or maybe Jenna would bring the kids by for a short visit. Nothing. On the 3rd day, the phone finally rang. It was Jenna. Her voice was flat, almost like she was bored. "Hi Joan. I just wanted to let you know we're not bringing the kids to the hospital. Hospitals are traumatizing for children. It's not good for them to see you like that." I was so caught off guard, I didn't say anything. Then Aaron got on. "Mom," he said, like he was explaining something obvious, "we just think it's better if they remember you how you were, when you were healthy. Strong. Not, like this." I didn't know what to say. My throat closed up. My body hurt, but this? This was a different kind of pain. I just whispered, "Okay." Then the line went dead. I didn't cry aloud. Just quiet tears, slipping down my cheeks. A nurse walked over and wiped them away. She didn't say anything. Just gave my hand a little squeeze. That was more kindness than I got from my own family. They never visited. Never checked in again during that hospital stay. When I got discharged, Patricia, my neighbor, was the one who picked me up. She brought soup, changed my bandages, stayed up late to make sure I didn't fall in the bathroom. Aaron never came by. I stayed quiet. I didn't argue or demand apologies. But something inside me started to rot. I looked back at the years of sacrifice. The birthdays I went without gifts so Aaron could have what he needed. The weekends I spent alone while he went on trips. The Christmas I pawned my wedding ring to buy him a laptop. And now, here I was, left to rot in a hospital bed while my son's wife explained to me like I was a burden that the kids shouldn't see me like this. 3 months later, nothing had changed. Aaron texted me once, a group message with a picture of Nolan at soccer. No personal message. No follow-up. I replied with a heart emoji. He didn't respond. I stopped visiting their house. Stopped offering to babysit. I pulled back. Quietly. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to beg. But I did go to my lawyer. I updated my will. I removed Aaron as my emergency contact and medical power of attorney. I replaced him with Patricia. She had shown more love in 1 week than my son had in a year. Then came the call. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was reading on my porch. The phone rang. It was the ER at Grady Memorial. "Hi, we're looking for Joan Whitaker. You're listed as the emergency contact for Aaron Dillard. You were on an older file, but we see some updates were made." My heart started racing. "What happened?" I asked. "He was in a minor accident. He's okay, but we need to confirm contacts. The current file shows a Jenna Dillard and a Patricia Long." I froze. "Patricia Long?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am. She's listed as a backup." I hung up and walked straight to Patricia's house. She was already at the door, looking nervous. "I didn't know," she said. "I didn't ask to be put down. Maybe he just assumed, since I helped you." I felt like I couldn't breathe. My own son had replaced me. Replaced me with my neighbor. The one who had been there when he wasn't. I went home and sat in the dark for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. But something inside me clicked into place. I was done waiting to be loved. Now, I was going to take care of me. And whether they knew it or not, they just started a chain of events they couldn't take back. After that call from the hospital, I didn't sleep for 2 days. I kept playing it over in my head. Aaron had used Patricia as his emergency contact. Not me. His own mother. I didn't tell him I knew. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just watched. 2 weeks later, Patricia came by with banana bread. She looked uncomfortable. "I need to tell you something," she said. Aaron came over. I sat up straight. "What for?" He asked me if I could pick the kids up from school next week. Jen is going out of town for work and he's got meetings. He said you were too unpredictable now, that he didn't want to risk depending on you. My face went numb. I didn't say yes, she added quickly. I told him I had things going on. I thanked her, but I was shaking inside. Too unpredictable? Let's talk about unpredictable. Was it predictable that I'd raise a boy by myself for 2 decades, give him my whole life, and then get tossed aside like I didn't matter? Was it predictable that I'd be treated like an obligation the second I got too weak to bake or babysit? No. But I guess it was predictable that Jenna would slowly push me out of their lives. I just didn't want to see it. Jenna had been driving the wedge for years. At first, it was small things. Changing the holiday plans at the last minute, not inviting me to the kids' school plays, saying they already had enough help. I let it slide because I thought she'd come around. But she didn't. She took, and Aaron let her. Worse, he joined her. And now they were trying to replace me. So I made a plan. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it would matter. First, I called my lawyer again. We finalized the trust. Not the will, the trust. I set it up so that everything I owned, every account, every bit of life insurance, went to Nolan and Harper. Not Aaron. Not Jenna. The money would be locked in a trust they couldn't touch until the kids were 25, and Patricia would be the trustee. The clause was simple: if anyone tried to access it before the kids were of age, everything would be donated to a children's hospital instead. I didn't tell a soul. Then, I started keeping a journal. I documented every visit missed, every time I offered to help and was brushed off, every holiday I was left alone. It wasn't for court. It wasn't for drama. It was just in case they ever tried to paint a different picture. Meanwhile, Patricia kept getting little requests from Aaron. Could she help with pickup? Could she watch the kids one Saturday so he and Jenna could have a mental break? He was polite, even charming. I knew that side of him. But it was transactional. He wanted help, not connection. I never said anything. I just watched. Then came Nolan's birthday in March. I used to bake his cake every year. This year, I didn't even get invited. I saw pictures on Facebook later: store-bought cake, plastic decorations, Jenna smiling with her parents. I wasn't in a single photo. 2 days later, Nolan showed up on my porch after school. I wanted to say thank you for the science kit, he said. It was my favorite gift. I hugged him so hard I thought I'd break his ribs. Then he asked, "Why didn't you come to my party?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "I wasn't invited, sweetheart." He frowned. "But Dad said you didn't feel like coming." I didn't correct him. I didn't want to put that weight on an 8-year-old. I just smiled and said, "Next time, maybe we can have our own little party." He lit up. "Can we bake cookies again?" "You bet." That night, I cried harder than I had since the hospital. That's when I knew I wasn't just hurt. I was being erased. They weren't just forgetting me. They were rewriting the story. Then came the twist I never saw coming. Jenna's sister, Melissa, called me out of nowhere. We'd only met a few times. She lived in Chattanooga and never visited. "I know we've never been close," she said. "But I thought you should know something." "What is it?" I asked. "There's been talk in the family. Jenna's been saying you're losing it. That you're showing early signs of dementia. She said that's why you weren't at Nolan's party. That it's why Aaron's had to take a step back." My stomach dropped. "What?" I whispered. "She said you forgot conversations, mixed up dates, called the kids by the wrong names." I don't believe it, but others are starting to. I was stunned. My voice shook. "I've never done any of that." "That's a lie." "I figured," Melissa said. "That's why I'm telling you." I don't know what her plan is, but it's not right. I hung up the phone and sat in silence. They weren't just pushing me aside. They were smearing me to justify it. So that when I finally disappeared from their lives, they could tell themselves, and everyone else, that it wasn't their fault. That I was just fading. But I wasn't fading. I was watching. I was documenting. And they had no idea what was coming next. After that phone call from Melissa, I barely slept. My head wouldn't stop spinning. They were saying I had dementia. Not just to family, but possibly to friends, neighbors, teachers at the kids' school. Anyone who might question why Grandma Joan wasn't around anymore. Jenna was laying the groundwork for my erasure. And Aaron, he was letting it happen. Or worse, helping. I started digging. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I started by logging into the school portal where I used to be listed as an emergency pickup. I hadn't been there in months, but I still had my login. Gone. My name had been completely removed from both Nolan and Harper's school records. No pickup rights. No listed grandparent. Patricia was listed now, along with Jenna's mother and father. No mention of me. It felt like I'd died and no one told me. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I made an appointment with my doctor. I told her everything. I asked for a full cognitive exam, written results, the whole thing. She looked confused but didn't ask many questions. We did the tests. Memory, recall, problem solving, even motor skills. I passed everything. In fact, my scores were higher than the average for my age. I don't see any signs of cognitive decline, Joan, she said. Why did you want this? I didn't answer. I just asked for it in writing. I made 3 copies. I stored one in my fireproof lockbox. One with my lawyer. And the third? I sealed in an envelope, handwrote Aaron's name on the front, and left it in Patricia's care. I told her, if they ever say I don't know what I'm doing, give this to whoever's listening. She nodded, didn't ask questions. That's what I liked about Patricia. But the game had changed. Now it wasn't just about neglect. It was about control. And I started noticing other things too. At first, I thought I was paranoid. But it added up. Nolan stopped texting me from his iPad. I used to get little messages, "Hi Grandma," or photos of drawings. Then nothing. I asked Patricia, and she told me Jenna had set new restrictions on his device. No external messages, she'd told Nolan. For safety. The kind of safety that keeps a boy from his grandmother. I kept everything to myself. I didn't rant. I didn't send angry texts. That's what they probably wanted me to do, so they could point to it and say I was unstable. Instead, I waited. Then, just when I thought they couldn't twist the knife any deeper, something happened that told me everything I needed to know about who I was dealing with. It was April, a sunny Saturday. I went to Walmart for groceries. I was pushing my cart through the parking lot when I saw Aaron's SUV. Jenna was driving, Aaron in the passenger seat. The kids were in the back. They saw me. I know they saw me. But the car didn't stop. Jenna turned her face. Aaron stared straight ahead like I was invisible. Harper pressed her little hand against the window. Then they were gone. I stood there in the parking lot, holding a frozen lasagna, feeling like someone had knocked the wind out of me. And that was the moment I stopped being sad. That was the moment I got angry. Not the kind of angry that makes you yell or throw things. The kind of angry that gets quiet. The kind that makes plans. I went home. I made a list. I titled it, "If they want me gone, let's see how they like it." Step 1, I called Melissa. Told her about the school removal, the hospital contact list, and the iPad block. She was horrified. "They're isolating you," she said. "I've seen this happen with elder abuse cases." Step 2, I started making small gifts for the kids, crafts, letters, journals. I dated each one and stored them in a box labeled for when they're old enough to ask questions. I wasn't going to let them grow up not knowing the truth. Step 3, I spoke with my pastor at the church I used to attend with Aaron before Jenna got uncomfortable with organized religion. I told him everything. I asked if he could record a conversation with me, just a simple one, on video. I talked about my life. My health. My memories. My family. I looked into the camera and said, "I am of sound mind. I am not confused. I know what's happening, and I forgive them, but I won't let them erase me." He nodded the whole time. said, "You're not crazy, Joan. They're the ones with something to hide." I made 3 copies of that video. One for the trust files. One for the kids' memory box. And one for the day Jenna's lies catch up with her. Then something unexpected happened. Patricia came over with a strange look on her face. "I think Nolan's onto something," she said. "What do you mean?" "He asked me why you didn't call on Easter. He said you always used to make those bunny cookies. He said, did Grandma forget us?" I shook my head, my chest tight. "I told him maybe you didn't forget," Patricia said. "Maybe grown-ups sometimes hide things from kids." The next day, Nolan left a note in Patricia's mailbox. It said, "Grandma, if you get this, I miss you. I didn't forget. I still have your dinosaur socks. Love, Nolan." I cried when I read it. Then I made my decision. I wasn't just going to outlive their lies. I was going to burn every bridge they built on dishonesty. And when the time came, they'd find out what it's like to be cut off, not just from money or comfort, but from the kind of love they thought they could take for granted. Because I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to confront. I just needed to wait. And while I waited, I kept building. A life without them. A legacy they couldn't touch. And revenge they'd never see coming. 6 months passed after that letter from Nolan. I didn't respond, not directly. I wanted to, badly. But I knew if I replied, it would cause trouble. Jenna would accuse me of breaking boundaries, and Aaron would fold like he always did. I knew the only way to reach those kids was to wait until I had something that couldn't be denied. Something permanent. That moment came faster than I expected. Late October, I got a call from Melissa again. Her voice was sharp, like she'd been holding something back. "You need to know what Jen is doing," she said. "She told Aaron's boss that you were diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. She told him that's why Aaron's been distracted at work. She's using you to cover for his screw-ups." "What?" I said, stunned. That's slander." "I have it in writing," Melissa said. "She texted it to me by mistake. She meant to send it to her mom. She forwarded it." I opened it. "Aaron's behind at work again. I told his boss it's because his mom's slipping fast. Emotional toll. They bought it. LOL. That LOL did something to me I can't explain." I took the screenshot. Printed it. Added it to the folder with the school forms, the hospital notes, the video from my pastor, the test results from my doctor, and the letters from Nolan. I called my lawyer. "Time to activate the trust," I said. He paused. "Are you sure?" "Yes. But I'm adding one more condition." I told him what I wanted. He said, "That's harsh." I said, "It's honest." 1 week later, I hosted a brunch at my house. I invited Patricia, Melissa, my lawyer, and the pastor. We sat around my dining room table while I signed the final version of the trust and will. The terms were airtight. Everything I owned, my house, my pension savings, my life insurance, would go into a protected trust for Nolan and Harper. They couldn't touch a cent until they turned 25. If anyone challenged the trust, anyone, especially Aaron or Jenna, every cent would instead go to a nonprofit that helps abused and abandoned elders. My lawyer, my pastor, and Patricia were all witnesses. But that wasn't all. There was a final clause. A personal one. A letter written to Nolan and Harper. Sealed. Inside, I told them everything. Not in a bitter way. Not to turn them against their parents. But to tell the truth. I wrote, "Your parents made choices. They weren't honest. They didn't treat me with kindness when I needed it most. But that doesn't mean I stopped loving you. I never did. This trust isn't revenge. It's proof that I still believe in you. You can grow up to be better than what you saw. I believe you will. A month later, something happened that changed everything. Aaron lost his job. Melissa was right, he'd been underperforming for a while. He had excuses, but his boss didn't buy them anymore. Then Jenna's sister leaked the text message. The one where she said I was slipping and she lolled about lying to his employer. HR got involved. It wasn't just unprofessional. It was personal slander against a third party. Me. Aaron was let go. He called me 2 days later. First time in over a year. I almost didn't answer. But I did. His voice was small. Mom, I need to talk to you. I'm listening. I know we've been distant. Things got complicated. Jenna and we didn't handle things right. You lied about me to your boss. He paused. That wasn't me. That was Jenna. She was just trying to help, no. She was trying to control the narrative. And you let her. He didn't deny it. I lost my job, he finally said. We're struggling. I know this is a lot, but if something ever happens to you, I hope you'll consider helping us. For the kids. I waited. Then I said, there's a trust set up for the kids. Everything I own is going to them. You're not a beneficiary. Silence. He didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. You're cutting me out? I already did. He started to raise his voice. Are you serious? After everything I've done for you? I cut him off. Everything you've done for me? You mean abandoning me in the ICU? Telling your kids I didn't care about them? Letting your wife convince people I had dementia? Replacing me on hospital forms? Lying to your job? That's what you call everything? He went quiet. You need to look in the mirror, Aaron, I said. I raised you better. But I'm done waiting for you to act like a son. I hung up. I never heard from him again. Fast forward to now. It's been 9 months since that call. Jenna left him. Took the kids. Moved back in with her parents. Aaron moved to a smaller apartment, tried to start his own business. It flopped. Last I heard, he was working at a warehouse. Patricia still lives next door. We have coffee every Saturday. Nolan and Harper? They're doing well. Melissa makes sure I get updates. She visits when she can. She's the only one in that family who saw through Jenna's game early on. As for me, I've never felt clearer. I go to my doctor every 6 months. No signs of cognitive issues. I started volunteering at a women's shelter. I tell stories to the kids there. I bring cookies. And every once in a while, I take out the sealed memory box, the letters, photos, journals, and add a little more to it. One day, those kids will be old enough to open it. To read. To understand. And when they do, they'll know, their grandmother didn't forget them. She was pushed out. But she never gave up on them. And the people who thought they could rewrite her story? They got written out instead.